Welcome to Off Topic with Tim and Matt, our scrappy little sports podcast where we always go off topic. Okay, so we're going to talk a little MLB baseball. Two big things have broken. Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe are now eligible, I believe, for the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And there's talk that MLB players might be able to go to the Olympics. But first, Pete Rose, who recently passed away, who got caught up in a gambling scandal while head coach of the Cincinnati Reds, his original team, and was banned by former commissioner.
I can't remember who it was that banned him.
Fay Vincent.
Yes.
Banned for life from baseball over gambling. It wasn't allegations that they found the gambling cards with his name on it, betting on Major League Baseball games that he was coaching. This is the problem. And gambling was not sports betting. Sports
Friendly.
was not legal back then.
Yeah.
Outside of Vegas, but whatever. Anyway, and of course, Shoeless Joe Jackson, who was caught up in the Black Sox scandal of 100 years ago, for throwing a World Series because Mr. Kaminsky, his boss, didn't want to pay anybody and was just horrible. Anyway, I sort of shake my head at this sort of thing. Shoeless Joe should have been in years ago. I'm a little torn on Pete Rose, but it's a bit much that now that he's passed away, suddenly he's allowed to go in. And that's what sort of doesn't sit well with me.
Well, and I think here's the thing is that there should be no punishment in life that follows you into the afterlife.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole thing. Once they've passed, they're eligible.
They can't hurt anybody anymore.
And that goes for everybody that's been banned.
Yeah.
Right? Not just Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, everybody that's been banned. Here's the thing that always stuck in my craw about Pete Rose is he never denied that he bet.
Yeah.
He had a gambling problem. He said he had a gambling problem. He gambled on horses, he gambled on cars, and he gambled on baseball. He bet on his team.
Yeah.
His team sucked.
That crossed the line.
Yeah. But he bet on them to win. They never did. He
Yeah.
lost money on it. So he lost twice at this. But you weren't allowed to. And now you got to follow these rules. And now there's a young guy that plays for the Detroit Lions, James Williamson. Yeah.
Yes.
Jameson Williamson. Got banned for 6 games for gambling on property.
Yeah.
He was making bets through a legal betting site, DraftKings or whatever it is. FanDuel, whatever one it was. But he did it while he was still on Lions property.
Yeah, sitting in his car in the parking lot.
You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And you've got to follow those rules. He had to take that suspension in his rookie season with mud on his face because there are rules you got to follow. You weren't allowed to bet on baseball. If you were in the major leagues, you weren't allowed to bet on baseball.
Yeah.
Period. Rose did. Got suspended, got banned for life, was never eligible to come to any of the events, and his Hall of Fame, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of sad because he was Mr. Baseball.
Charlie Hustle.
Fay
Fay Vincent did the right thing. You showed leadership. You know, the rules are the rules are the rules. And just because you're Pete Rose doesn't mean the rules don't apply to you.
Yeah.
And he would have done the same thing to anybody else.
Yeah.
Had Pete Rose handled it better on his end and just said, look, I screwed up. I'm really sorry. I screwed up. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done this. I got a problem. I'm trying to get help. But, you guys got to forgive me. I'm a human being and I'm flawed. He didn't really take that approach. That did not help him. There's a lot of ego. It kind of reminds me of Andy Pettitte, who, of course, is eligible for the Hall of Fame, who got caught up in the performance-enhancing drugs thing.
Yeah.
Taking growth hormone. And he came out after his career and said, look, it was a stupid thing to do. I did it. I was trying to come back from an injury quicker. I shouldn't have done it. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I can't change the past. Just I'm sorry. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. So if Andy Pettitte's numbers are good enough for him to get in the Hall of Fame, he should be allowed to go into the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds, no, because Barry Bonds did not take that level of humility. He just denied the whole thing, and it was just...
Yeah.
It's a gray area. It's a gray area. Part of it was, we're getting off topic here. Yeah. 1988, Seoul Olympics. Who's our sprinter? Carl Lewis and Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, yeah.
Okay, 1988 Seoul Olympics, Ben Johnson wins the gold medal of the 100-meter track, gets busted for steroids.
Yep.
In that moment, every single league commissioner and union head should have sat bolt upright and went, oh, and sat down and developed a policy for performance-enhancing drugs for their sport. They buried their heads in the sand and they pretended it wasn't going to happen to them. And then, of course, baseball.
90s.
90s was a bigger deal in baseball than other sports for some stupid reason. Football, nobody seemed to care. They get suspended, but it was like, anyway, well, whatever. And, you know, but baseball, it was, I don't know, the holier than thou.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a proper CBA agreement in terms of performance-enhancing drugs. And then they came out with one, and then they tried to go after Barry Bonds for taking before the CBA. It was just like a big mess, right?
Yeah.
So with Pete Rose, with gambling, it was clear you weren't allowed to gamble. It was clear in the rules. He didn't handle it properly, and now he's dead. Well, you're dead now, so we can put you into the Hall of Fame. I don't really get it. I mean, Shoeless Joe should have gone in years ago.
Well, that was a fiasco in itself. And I mean, one of my favorite baseball sports movies is 8 Men Out, which is the story of Shoeless Joe Jackson and the Chicago Black Sox of 1918.
Yeah.
You know, and the way that the things were back then, that changed a lot for the athletes in baseball, because what it was it was akin to slavery back then.
Oh,
right?
totally.
They had, the players would sign lifetime contracts.
And no rights, no
kids,
money.
no rights. They would ride trains while the owners were flying, or they'd be in the cattle cars while the owners were in the big, nice, fancy cars.
Yeah.
Right? They were out there making the owners rich and getting nothing in return, not even their paycheck that they had a contract for.
Couldn't even see a copy of their own contract.
Right.
Yeah.
They were very susceptible, and this is where you get the no gambling in baseball, was from this event.
Yeah.
Where a couple of mob figures got a few guys together on the White Sox who were the team, like they were just better than everybody else, and got them to throw some games. A couple pitchers, a couple batters, got them to throw some games. But then they screwed them. They never gave them the money. They never got paid.
Yeah.
The players said, "To heck with you." I think there's only 2 or 3 games that they actually did stuff in. And the rest of them, they got beat because by that point they were infighting. The money wasn't there. Yeah. Everything imploded on them. Charles Kaminsky, the guy who owned the White Sox, he was so embarrassed that he paid the commissioner to make sure that these guys got dragged over the coals for what they had done. Yeah. No accountability back to him.
No.
It was crazy. And if you watch the movie 8 Men Out, you'll see.
Or you read the book.
It's a great story. And you'll see this is at the end of Shoeless Joe's career. He had already been better than everybody else. He was one of the most phenomenal players. And the reason he gets the name Shoeless Joe, I don't know if anybody knows this, is because his cleats broke before a game. And back then, you didn't have an equipment manager that had 15 pairs of your cleats ready for you. You showed up with your own shoes.
You had to buy them yourself.
So he had to borrow a pair of shoes. And by the 3rd inning, his feet were so sore and so bloody that he couldn't walk. So he took the shoes off out in left field and threw them over the fence. Yeah. And played the rest of the game shoeless. And after that, he became known as Shoeless Joe Jackson. The guy was just a phenom in the
dirt
field.
Poor, functionally illiterate, and just getting taken advantage of. And, like you said, was it their fault? Okay, sure, but there were extenuating circumstances that led them to that. Yeah. And so it's just, I mean, the whole thing now that he's gone, he can go in. I don't know. It's just.
But here's the thing: is that you got players like Bonds, McGuire, Canseco, Sammy Sosa, all these guys that are never going to be in the Hall of Fame because they got caught doing performance-enhancing drugs. Roger Clemens, Andy Pettitte,
or even the whiff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even the whiff. Yeah.
So these guys aren't going to go in there. You can't. I don't think you open the doors for these guys here that got banned for doing something they weren't supposed to. Yeah. Even if it was outside of damaging the game. Yeah. Performance-enhancing drugs damage the game. betting on your own team.
Part of the thing in PEDs, though, there was no rule saying they couldn't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the hook on PEDs. Nobody said they could. No one said you could do it. No one said you couldn't do it. It wasn't in the CBA.
Yeah.
And that was the rub, right? So, but go ahead, yeah.
Yeah.
But gambling,
you knew you weren't supposed to be able to do that.
It was clear.
Taking bribes and throwing games, you knew you weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And the one thing that has always been up for discussion about Joe Jackson is whether he even really knew what was going on there.
Yeah.
He was a little bit slow in the head.
Yeah.
Right? He was dirt poor, uneducated, and when they even talked to him about it, it wasn't like he even really understood what was going on.
Yeah.
And his stats were the best of all the players.
Yeah.
There. He didn't throw anything.
It's the artist versus the man. It's the player versus the individual.
Yeah.
Halls of Fame are not there for morals. They're there for numbers.
Yeah.
Like who you are as an individual off the field or off the ice should not influence what you did on the field.
100%.
And we look at Charles Dickens, and he was into slavery or something. So do we stop reading Dickens?
Yeah.
Shakespeare had the Shylock, which was a Jewish character in Taming of the Shrew. Do we stop reading, Shakespeare? Like it's a bit of a complicated gray area, and somebody gets involved in some scandal. Kurt Schilling is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Kurt Schilling had a brilliant career. After his career ended, things started going off the rails. Racist rants and bad business decisions and getting banned from Fox and all this kind of stuff. He was a model guy during his playing career. Something happened after his career ended, but that should not influence his right to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with baseball. His little scandal came like years afterwards, and they're taking this moral high road in the Cooperstown, and that's not the role of Cooperstown.
What?
Right? Like, guys are flawed. Baseball players are flawed. I mean, I watched Brett Favre's Untold yesterday.
Yeah.
How big an awful human being he was off the field, but on that field, he was amazing. So he kind of does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame because as a football player, he did what you're supposed to do to get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, who he was as an individual is indicative of how they produce athletes.
I agree. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure Pete Rose got away with a lot of stuff during his career because he was so good, and you get that sense of entitlement, and that's the whole system and everything that builds up, for his whole life, and suddenly he gets caught doing something, and you're a terrible person. Well, you knew he was up to no good a lot of the time. So anyway, I don't know if he should be in. It's just the Hall of Fame thing. Just if he has the numbers, put him in. Whatever. But he got banned for for the stuff. He got banned for something they shouldn't have done in regards to on field in the game. So yeah, I'm not too sure about it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Not for me to decide. Now, Major League Baseball, the Olympics are coming up to LA in 2028.
Yes.
And there is a movement, a push from Casey Wasserman, who is sort of running the whole thing, to get Major League Baseball players to play in the Olympics. And I think this is awesome, and you don't agree with me.
I think it's a bad idea.
Okay, why is it a bad idea?
Baseball, Major League Baseball is at that time, the season's in full swing. You're talking, the Olympics are what, August?
Something like that, yeah.
July, August?
Yeah.
July, August. It is the middle of the season. You're talking a 3-week break in the middle of the season to cherry pick a handful of players off of
a handful of teams,
32 teams.
Yeah, not all of the teams are going to lose players.
Right.
Yeah.
But everybody's got to stop. So you're talking 53 men times 32 teams stop playing for 3 weeks and sit on their laurels while a handful of players go and play. I don't think that's a great idea. The logistics of it, not a great idea. The visibility of it, great idea.
Marketing wise, yeah.
Marketing wise. But here's where you could really, really, really promote baseball.
Yeah.
Is by continuing to have the minor league players do it. Because you see the up-and-comers, you really put them on the stage, And then you also get the opportunity to bring guys in other countries, Japan, China, Korea, Australia, Canada, England, Dominican, that aren't already signed, and open it up for people to take a good look at that.
Yeah. Major League Baseball has a major problem with marketing. They kind of suck at it.
Yes.
And we're currently in a golden age for Major League Baseball that they haven't seen in a very long time, the decades. You've got Ohtani in LA, you got Judge in New York, Alonso in the Mets, smaller teams, Paul Skeens in Pittsburgh, Vladdy in Toronto, Bobby Witt Jr. in KC. There's some really good players out there, really good, that are marketable beyond your means, and they're really not getting showcased as much as they can because baseball's viewership has gone down so much, and ESPN doesn't even want to show the games anymore. They got a big marketing problem. Now, I love professional athletes at the Olympics because they're all professional no matter what they say. This should be about the best athletes going there and not sort of the minor league guys. Hockey was a perfect example. Basketball is a perfect example. You can figure this out. International soccer has this figured out. So you have your club team, and then you get onto your national team to go play at the World Cup in Euro, okay? They will have qualifying games while the regular season's going on. And they will take players from these teams, the top players, the David Beckhams out of Man U, half the team, will go to qualifying games to play for England and then go back to their club.
Yeah.
They figure it out. So they don't have to shut down the whole season. They don't.
I agree.
They need to take, first of all, they get to treat it like hockey. So in hockey, you've got Canada, the US, Sweden, Finland, Russia, the big five. They always get in no matter what. They don't have to qualify. They're always getting in. And then, Uzbekistan's and whoever else have to try and get in, Germany and Denmark, whoever. And then, if they lose, they get bumped out and someone else gets a turn, whatever. So the US, Japan, Dominican, Puerto Rico, and I'm missing a country. We'll say the big four just to keep it simple. They got to get in automatically. So what they should do is just have, the four nations, this should be the four nations. And you don't agree with me, but it totally should be. They should have, what they should do is they're going to have, say, 10 teams. Keep it simple, or, 6 teams. Keep it simple. Because, there's only so many parks you can do and blah, blah, blah. Have the top players. But you can only give up so many players per team.
Yeah.
So the Dodgers, you can take 3 players off the Dodgers, right? So you can take, Ohtani for Japan, and or Sasaki for Japan, and Yamamoto, and maybe Freddie Freeman for Canada, and Betts for the U.S.
Yeah.
That's it. You can't take any more players from the Dodgers. In Toronto, you can take Vladdy and Bo, and you're not going to take anybody else. Pittsburgh, you can get Paul Skeens, that's it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the team has to play against them. And you can adjust wins and losses and give them you can figure it out. The Major League Baseball can keep playing, and you can grab a couple of players. It's only a couple of weeks, right? It's only a couple of weeks.
Here's my thing, right? The NFL's setting NFL players to do flag.
Yeah.
Right? But it's off season, right?
It's like basketball at the Olympics. It's off season. So
it's off season.
Yeah.
Hockey, you shut down for 2 weeks. You're missing what? 3-4 games.
Yeah.
Right? Baseball, you shut down, and it's going to be 3 weeks. You got to think travel, so by the end, it's going to be 3 weeks, 20 days, right? That's 19 games.
Okay, but let's look at this too. They're not going to be playing every single game, right?
Yeah.
So if they're in the Major League Baseball and the Dodgers need Ohtani and whatever, they won't be playing in LA because they're going to be using Dodger Stadium. Okay, it's an off day at the Olympics. Fly them to the game, play, come back. And you can work around it. There's workarounds here.
Then you start to look at the wear and tear on the player going into the playoffs.
Of course they do, but there's always going to be wear and tear, and they need to market baseball better. The Olympics is the perfect way to do it.
It's almost like they should have an off-season tournament where they showcase the countries and all the players
but it doesn't
in
work,
Major League Baseball.
Because no one's watching it then.
The World Baseball Classic.
But it doesn't work because no one watches it.
But it does.
People don't get the viewership because it's not during baseball season and people just aren't interested.
It's before preseason.
I know what it is.
Right? The stadiums are sold out. You can't buy a ticket for it. People want to go see it. What they aren't doing is marketing on the TV.
Yeah.
You're 100% right when you say Major League Baseball has a marketing problem.
Yeah.
They suck at it.
Terrible.
Because
Terrible.
that should be blown up.
Yeah.
You have to fight to find it.
I
and
know.
it's crazy.
Hey, look, Paul Skeens, I mean, he plays for Pittsburgh. He's the only reason to watch Pittsburgh. I've never seen him pitch. I get MLB Network on my TV, my cable package. They never show Pittsburgh games when he's playing.
Yeah.
I'm MLB Network. I've got Pittsburgh every 4 days when Paul Skeens pitches so I can watch him pitch. They don't do it. ESPN doesn't want to carry the games anymore because people don't watch it.
Yeah.
And the World Baseball Classic is great, but people don't watch it because they can't get it televised.
Exactly.
Hardcore baseball fans are there, but you would need the casual fan, right?
The logistics of doing it in the middle of the season, I think there's so many hurdles.
There are, but you can
but
figure out a workaround.
But you know what's really easy to do is hire a marketing company and blow up the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
Because I mean, did you watch the game
No.
where Ohtani hit the ball through the stadium roof?
I didn't see it, no.
No, I saw the replay of
Yeah.
it because it wasn't on TV.
I know.
You know? So I get you. I think what they have in place, right? If they were to work it better, is fine. To change that without making that effort first, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm pretty sure 2028, you're not going to see Major League Baseball players in the Olympics.
Yeah, it's complicated because both the Players Association and MLB have to agree on it.
Yeah.
And they don't agree on much. So,
Ever.
Yeah.
Wasserman, I think he's got a great idea.
He's a savvy guy, man.
He's a very savvy guy. I like that he's pushing for this.
Yeah.
But he's using the NFL approval of sending NFL players to the flag football in the Olympics to try and push the major league thing. And you're comparing apples and oranges because you're not looking at missing 20 out of 21 games in the middle of the season.
I know.
And then,
they
and
can
then adding another 15 to 20 games onto that player with that is going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah. I know. I think they can make it work. I think it'd be awesome for baseball. They got to figure out the workarounds. It won't happen 2028, but Major League Baseball needs to figure something out because they're in a golden age right now, and they are not marketing at all.
No.
And it's terrible. No. It's terrible. Okay.
But here's the thing. Even the bad stadiums are getting 25,000 people in the stadium a game.
Yeah.
Even the bad teams.
Yeah.
25,000 people. They're making money. The good teams are selling out at 60,000.
Yeah.
Right? Bad teams are at least getting 25,000.
The problem with Major League Baseball is they have a revenue sharing plan where the really big teams like the Dodgers pay money to the really crappy teams like Cincinnati. And the thinking was they take that money, throw it back into the team, they make the Cincinnati's better.
No.
They don't. The owners take that money, put it into other businesses, and use the teams as tax write-offs.
Yeah.
And it's just a joke. So there's a lot of problems with baseball, but anyway, we can go all day. Speaking of problems, let's look at the Toronto Blue Jays. Hey, we won 5 in a row. We're now at 500. Oh, we just lost 3 in a row. We're back below 500. There's no hustle and consistency to that team. And, you know, Pittsburgh, apparently, there's chatter that they may trade Paul Skeens because they don't have any position players.
Yeah.
Which is completely ludicrous because he's the only reason to show up and watch a Pittsburgh Pirates game. You know, I love to see him to be the 5th starter or the 1st starter and bump a few guys down to Toronto. They have nothing to trade for him.
Yeah.
Nothing. Zero. And, you know, you're going to move Bo Bichette. He's the only half-decent guy. Him and Vladdy, the only 2 reasons to show up.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to see him go to the Dodgers. I mean, I guess the Red Sox could probably pick him up.
Yeah.
But they want tons of position players and prospects for him. And unless you've got a huge farm system, you know.
Yeah. I think that's the thing right now is, you know, where Skeen's going to go. Well, you got to give up a ton for him.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's going to be really willing to do it. So,
you know, Trevor Bauer's out there killing it in the Mexico League. The guy cleared his name.
yeah.
I get it, he's a poison chalice, but when you're Toronto and you got Bowen Francis as your 5th starter, like, come on, man, grow a set. Just give the guy a 1-year contract and say, look, if you screw up, you're out of here. You know? You could figure it out.
The Dodgers have said no. And,
I appreciate that because he was a Dodger when the whole thing happened.
and it really put a black eye on it.
Yeah, and it makes
So,
the team look bad, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm Cincinnati and I'm Pittsburgh, and I have one good player in my team, and he's cleared his name. Like, the guy deserves a second chance, and
Yeah.
fifth starter in Toronto. Anyway,
I like if not the Dodgers, but any other team
Yeah.
that needs a pitcher,
Yeah.
they're crazy not talking to him.
Yeah.
I think it's just absolutely ludicrous.
it's unfair. He cleared his name,
But-
in a court of law.
He's also doing a little bit right now that is it's hurting his chances.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of TikTok stuff.
Yeah.
Right, where he's telling players where he's throwing the ball and throwing it there and still striking them out.
Yeah.
You know, and he keeps trashing Major League Baseball owners for not taking the chance on him.
Yeah.
So he's really hurting his own cause right now.
It's a sticky situation. Your Dodgers, on by the other hand, are killing it.
We're killing it, but we're getting killed out there too. It's kind of crazy how many players are like.
They're still winning though. That's the
they're
crazy
still winning.
part.
They're 32-20. They're not the best team, but they're way up there.
32 and 20. My team's below 500 now. I'll take 32 and 20 any day.
But the problem that we have is our starting pitching has just been decimated.
Right, and a lot of their best pitchers are actually playing for other teams right now.
Yeah,
They let a lot of guys go. Walker Buehler and
we did, but because we had Tyler Glasnow hurt,
Right.
you know, Sasaki's hurt,
yeah.
you know, Ohtani's not pitching yet.
Yeah.
Kershaw's just coming back.
Yeah.
Blake Snell, we signed him. He's hurt.
Yeah.
You know, so like
Kershaw's going to be retiring soon. Whole
Well-
career in LA.
whole career in LA.
Start to
and this is when we talk. And I was thinking about this. Is that we were talking about going down the Dodgers Mariners game?
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, oh, I hope to see like Yamamoto or Sasaki or I'd like to watch Kershaw pitch one more time.
Yeah, that'd be
that
pretty
would
sick.
be. I think that we got to take a look at what the game times are there.
Yeah.
So and just because we're talking about that right now, is that weekend might be even get better for Matt. Right. Is if we go to the Friday night ball game, the Saturday Ohio State Washington Huskies game, I'm going to fly out Saturday night out of Vancouver to Toronto on the red eye and be at the Bills game at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning.
No way.
Yeah,
Look
maybe.
at you.
Big maybe on that.
maybe. We'll
We're
go.
working on a project with our Eastern company that we're going to do the rollout that week.
Oh, okay.
And he's got Bills season tickets.
No way.
Yeah, and
Wow.
they play the Saints that day. So this whole sports weekend, Matt's crazy sports
You
weekend.
got to go for some chicken wings, my friend.
Oh yeah, no
You go
kidding.
to the Anchor Pub. Go to the original one downtown. There's a chain now in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But make sure you go to the original one downtown.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
There's two. There's two different places. I don't know what the other one is, but I have a recipe that's very similar to it was supposed to be the Anchor Pub one, but it's not because it's baked in the oven rather
Right.
than deep fried.
Right.
But they're really good.
All
They're
right.
really good. They're
All
really
right.
good. Yeah, they're great chicken wings.
So-
Get the hot ones. Don't be a wuss. Okay.
I love the hot wings.
Okay.
So-
That about wraps it up. Anything else you want to talk baseball?
No, we're good. The middle of the season, it's just kind of the stretch. The dog days of summer are here. Are coming.
Yeah. I'm thinking Toronto, they got when's the Latin American draft?
No, not till July, August. End of
July, August,
beginning of
yeah.
August, yeah.
Yeah. And then, Toronto has, I think, the 8th pick overall this year.
Yeah.
The shortstop is, they're looking like there's a shortstop available. Like they have so many shortstops. It's just like, oh my God, guys. There's
So-
no outfielders.
I heard a funny stat. Colorado Rockies
Oh my God.
are 9-43. They're on pace to be the worst team ever.
Bud Black got fired. He's just like, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah, it's crazy. And watching them play, it's horrible. Like the White
painful.
Sox were painful last year. That's even worse. Watching them shoot themselves in the foot.
And
over
Pittsburgh
over.
fired their manager.
Yeah.
And then, Jays are probably going to fire their manager. Who are they going to hire?
So in the
Who are
draft,
they going to hire that they're good? That's going to make the team better.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're not out there. Like it's not going to happen.
So the Rockies, because they were poor last year,
Yeah.
pick fourth.
Right.
But because of an anti-tanking rule in the Major League Baseball,
Yeah.
if they finish as badly as they figure they're going to, the
Yeah.
best they're going to get
Yeah.
is 10th
I don't agree with that
pick
rule at
next
all.
year.
I
So
hate like draft lotteries. I don't like at all.
but it's not a lottery.
I know.
It's just that if you tank,
Yeah.
and this looks like you're tanking, you don't get the first overall pick.
I
You
know.
slide to 10.
I really disagree with that
Yeah.
completely. I mean, and the CBA. The weird thing is the Players Association agreed with the Major League Baseball on a rule that you can't, if you dump your veterans towards the end of the trade deadline and you really start tanking, you get penalized in the draft.
Yeah.
And it's a weird rule. Like, why would the union do that? Like, get your veterans to a contending team. Like, they're better off at the other team than they are at the crappy team. Like, it's just kind of weird. I don't understand why they would do that.
You don't want them designating for assignment.
No,
Right.
but they're just talking about trading them.
Trading them, yeah.
But they're talking about trading them, but DFAing them. You know, if the guys, you can get something for them, you get something for them.
Right. But that's not always the case. But it's not just the trading them off. It's the designating.
DFAing. Oh, okay.
Right. Or putting them on the injured list when they're not injured.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
that I understand.
You know, you don't want a manager thinking, well, we suck, so I want the first overall pick because there's this great pitcher, this great hitter coming out. So I'm just gonna bench all my good players and play nothing but rookies. Right. So there's a whole basis behind it.
Yeah.
When you look at it from the most ludicrous aspects, yes, it looks ludicrous.
Right.
When you look at the whole thing and the strategicness of, you know.
Well, the irony is that, you know, Major League Baseball prospects, it's the best kid you could draft in any year. It still takes 5 years.
Yeah.
It's not hockey or baseball or basketball.
Yeah.
Where the 18-year-old can come up like a Sidney Crosby or a LeBron.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way with baseball. Like, there's a few guys who are 19, Robin Yount, Eric Karros.
Yeah.
But that's rare. Like, that's like 1 in 30 years that happens. So
It is. But you also look at, you know, football is one where people were shaking their heads at the Giants because winning that one game moved them from, you know, picking first overall to picking third or fourth overall.
Yeah.
Or the Patriots, I think, was another one that went from second to fourth.
Yeah.
Because they won one game towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Right? And they had a crap season where they only won 2-3 games in total, right? You know, there's something to be said for playing each game to its fullest.
Yeah.
And I think teams should be punished if they don't.
my favorite story is when Pittsburgh really wanted Mario Lemieux.
Yeah.
And they took a scout and put him in as the head coach. And they brought their AHL goalie up.
Yeah.
And they completely threw the season. Everything they could do just to get Lemieux. But, you know, you have to understand, just getting that one player doesn't cure everything.
No.
You have to have player development. You have to have guys around him. You have to have, it doesn't cure all. You get one guy. I mean, Jay's got Vladdy. He's playing great. And there's still 500.
Yep.
You know, you have to develop the player. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't
You develop the team. It's a team sport.
But I mean, even if you get that top prospect, you still have to have player development to get him up to speed to his skills. And then you have to have support around him.
Yep.
Look at Edmonton. They had the top pick for like 6 years in a row. They couldn't even make the playoffs.
Yep.
You know, they had crappy coaching. They had crappy ownership. They had, you know, it's just like, oh my God.
All right.
All right, that's it for Major League Baseball. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and comment. Off Topic with Tim and Matt, where we always go off topic.